Hello friends, how are you? Welcome to the Japan Study Center. Today we are going to see the chapter of political science. And what is our topic today? Today we discuss on most important chapter here, politics of planet development. That's important chapter here, CBSE NCERT class 12 political science here. But next question arrive here. Describe the strategy adopted by the government of India to promote the green revolution. You know that that's an important question here. Describe the strategy adopted by the government of India to promote the green revolution. The following strategies were to adopted by the government of India to promote the green revolution here. First of all, here the new agricultural strategy was adopted in India during to the third five-year plan, and during a time period is 1960. That's important here. The government decided to shift the strategy of flow in a agricultural sector of the country. That's important point. The next year, the government introduced a pilot project. The government of India introduced a pilot project known as the Intensive Area Development Program. The pilot project here, IADP, Intensity Area Development Program, is a sector area here. In a Kharif season in 1966, India adopted to the high yielding variety program, means HYVP, for the first time. That's important here. A strategy for Indian government adopted here. But next question arrive here. State a difference between the first five-year plan and second five-year plan. That's important question here. 5-year plans was second five-year plan. That's important. There is some difference between the first and second five-year plan, which is elaborate below here. First of all, here the first five-year plan totally focus on agriculture. That's important. First five-year plan is totally focused on agriculture, whereas second on the industry sector. First year agriculture and second year industry sector. The first five-year plan is important here because the first five-year plan is started all around balanced development, which would be ensure increasing in the level of national income. That's important. The increasing in the level of national income, 22.6% is allocations was done on the education, health, housing, etc. Whereas the second plan is reflected the goal of socialist pattern of society and is localized only 19.7% is social service. You know that is important here. That's an important point here. The first five-year plan is the increasing of national income. This is 22.6% for the education, health, and housing. And second plan here, a social pattern of society localized is here. A purpose for the here or social service is a 19.7. First five-year plan allocated up 50% of agriculture and 70% on the irrigation and food control, whereas that's important. But second five-year plan localized only 11.8% of agriculture and 10% irrigation and the food of control. The next question arrive here. That's important. Describe any four consequences of green revolution. You know that that's an important question for the exam view here. Describe any four consequences of green revolution. You know that for a merit and green revolution here, a two merit of green revolution. After launching this revolution, India achieved self-sufficiency in the food production, and poor farmers also get a benefit from a revolution. And due to this, the states of Punjab, Haryana, Western Uttar Pradesh flourish more, and here the living standard also is improved. That's important here. The state of Punjab, Haryana, and West Uttar Pradesh, they flourish here. And that's the first socially them or politically as economically their status of farmer in this state was rising. That's important here, a merit of green revolution on here. The next consequence here, demerit. There is negative outcome here. This revolution create a valley between poor farmer and rich ones. That's important here. This revolution create a valley between a poor farmer and rich one, and discrimination and exploitations of poor farmer by the landlord become a wild set of practice here. And some political parties start to the politics on it and manage seat in the assembly and Lok Sabha election. This revolution also increased the power of middleman who worked as the mediator between poor farmer and affluent landlord here. That's important demerit here. And therefore the middleman create a condition due to which farmers were impoverished. The political strength of the middleman but lead a policy maker to be reduce the importance of state in India's economy from 1918s onward. That's an important question here. I repeat again, the question is important for the exam view. What lead the policy makers to reduce the importance of state in India's economy for the 19th century onward? That's an important question for the exam view here. The following facts are responsible which lead to the policy makers reduce the importance of state in India's economies from 1980 onward here. First of all here, the story of development in India took a significant turn from the end of 1960th century. That's important story here. The story of development in India took a significant turn from end of 1960th century. After the Nehru as a death, the Congress systems is encountered difficulties. There's an important. After the Nehru death, Congress system is encounter or difficulties, and Indira Gandhi emerged as a popular leader. On this time, Indira Gandhi emerged as a popular leader. She decided to the further strengthen the role of the state in a controlling and directing the economy. That's important here. She decided to the further strengthen the role of the state in a controlling and directing the economic. That's important point here. And the period from 1967 onward witnessed a many new restriction on the private industry, and the government announced many poor programs here. You know that's important. The period from 1967 onward, and this change accompanied by an ideological title toward a socialist policy. That's important here. Ideological alludes to the socialist policy. And however, their conscience for a state lead to the economic development did not last forever. That's an important point. Planning did continue, but its silence was significantly reduced. Planning did continue, but silence was significantly reduced here. Between 1950 and 1980, to the Indian economies grew at the glacis per annual rate of 3 to 3.5%. That's important. In a view of the prevailing insufficiency and corruption in some public sector enterprise and the not so positive role of the bureaucracy in economic development, the public opinion in the country lost the faith in the many of these institutions. And such a lack of public faith led to the policy makers to reduce the importance of state in India as a economic from 1980 onward. That's important point here. But next question arrive here. That's important. Examine there is a controversy regarding to the agriculture was industry in India after the second 5-year plan. That's important question for the exam view here. Examine the controversies regarding agriculture was industry in India after the second 5-year plan. That's an important question here. The depth between to agriculture and industry are as a flow. The second plan that is a Nehru or Malvol's plan imposes on there is a heavy industry and the focus less on agricultural sector. The second plan that a Nehru is here only focus heavy industry and there is a less on the agriculture sector because first 5-year plan the maximum heavy focus on agriculture sector. It is declared the socialist pattern of society as its goal. And the second plan is imposed on the saving and investment here. A bulk of industry like electricity, railway, steel, etc. development. That's important here. A bulk of industry like electricity, railways, steels, etc. development here. The second 5-year plan, many believe in the scientific manner of research and believe in the modernity. That is important here and this might be causing to decline of agriculture. The second 5-year plan mainly believe in the scientific manner and this reason may be causing the decline of agriculture. The second plan led to a what to the creating the employment and establishment of industries. That's important. The second plan led to a what to the generating the employment and establishment of industries. Nehru Malvol's plan started that through there is industrializations, poverty, elevations is possible. That's important here. But agriculture needed a urgent attention because it was hit by the partition. Agriculture needed to urgent attention because it was hit the partition, but plans were made on the pattern of land distribution. Its focus on the land reform as the keys to be countries as a development. The agriculture situation went from a bad to the worse in the 1960th century. The agriculture situation went for the bad to worse in the 1960th century. Between 1965 to 1967, many droughts occurred which lead to food storage and famine-like a condition in many parts of the country. That's important factor here. Between 1965 to 1967, many droughts occurred which lead to food storage and famine like a condition in many parts of the country. The second plan established a Tata Institution of Fundamental Research and where talented young students were trained for the working in a nuclear power project. That's important here. Second year plan here established here Tata Institute of Fundamental Research here. And the training to working in the nuclear power project of the student, talented student here. The government did not be established any such a research institute for the agriculture. That's the main factor here. Government did not be established any such a research institution from agriculture. Thus, this above controversy put a government into the case and demanded on equal treatment. You know that's important. Thus, this above a controversy put a government into the case and demanded an equal treatment here. Hence, the Indian planner found the balancing industry and agriculture really difficult. This point is important for you. The Indian planner found the balancing industry and agriculture really too difficult here. That's important. But next question arrive here. That's important question here. Examine the difference area of agreement and disagreement with respect to the model of economical development to be adopted in India after independence. That's important question here for the exam view. Examine the difference area of agreement and disagreement with the respect to the model of economical development to be adopted in India after independence. That's important here. The agreement of economic model after independence, there were a lot of discussion with respect to the model of economic development to be adopted in India. And that's important. Agreement of economic model after the independence, there were a lot of discussion with respect to the model of economical development to be adopted in India. Development was about becoming more modern, and modern was about the become more like the industrialized country of the West. That's important here. There's a more like the industrialized country of the West. India planner did not follow any of two now model of the development. India planner did not follow any of two now models of development, capitalist model of development and socialist model of development. That's important. Indian planner did not follow the two model of development, capitalist and socialist. India adopted both element of this model. That is why India economy is called mixed economy. India is not go away here a capitalist model and development and social model of development. India goes be to here a mixed economics development here. That's reasons a private sector and public sector flourish well. In Indian state controlling the key industry and providing industrial infrastructure. And disagreement of economical model of mixed economy was criticized by many scholars and they agreed that the planner had refused the private sector with enough space in the estimates to grow. The enlarged public sector provide a powerful vested interest that will enough hurdles for a private capital by way of the installing the license and permit a system. That's important here. The enlarged public sector provided a powerful vested interest that will enough hurdles for a private capital by way of the installing their license and permit system here. And some critics have an opinion that the era of public sector where poverty did not be declined. Even number of poor were adversely increased. That is a bad effect here. Did not be declined. Even number of poor there is increase. The public sector did not spend much of money of health care and education. That's important point here. The public sector did not spend much money on the health care and education. The state intervenes into area where a private sector made up profits. The policy of state restricted import of goods and production in their domestic market here. There are no campaigns left the private sector with no incentive to be improve their products and make them cheaper. That's important here. Little or not campaigns left the private sector with no incentive to be improve their products and make them to the cheaper. After all, this capitalism government adopted the policy of globalization and liberalization and privatization in a 1991. That's important here. There is the capitalism government adopted their policy of globalization, liberalization and privatization in 1991. This policy is called New Economic Policy, where private firms enjoy their independence and government interfere only in economic matters here. But next question arrive here, this is the most important here. Assess the outcome of the early phase of planned development in India. You know that is an important question for the exam view here. Assess the outcomes of the early phase of planned development in India. You know that is an important question for the exam view here. In 1938, Indian National Congress set up a planning committee to be formulate a plan from development of India's future. That's important here. The Indian National Congress set up planning committee to the formulate a plan for the development of India's future. After independence in April 1951, India adopted to plan development procedure here. That's important for the MCQ exam regarding here. First of all here, April 1951, India adopted to the planet development procedure here. It was felt that a procedure of planet development create a sound economic development and land reform here. And some points which are related with the planet development toward the foundation of Indian as economics, growth and land reform are the mentioned below here. Some point which relates with the planet development toward the foundation of India as economics, growth and land reform are mentioned below here. That's important point here. In 1950, Government of India passed a resolution and set up their planning commission to prepare a plan for the most effective and balanced utilization of the country's resources. That's important point here. In 1950, the Government of India passed a resolution and set up their planning commission to prepare a plan for the most effective and balanced utilizations of the country's resources here. The Planning Commission initiated their process of development which would be increase the living standard and provide to new opportunities here. According to the long-term objectives, originally it was to be double the per capita income and rise to communication standard by 70% by 1977. That's an important point here. According to the long-term objective, here a per capita income and rises to communication standard by the 70%. By the time period here, 1977. The first 5-year plan brought with it on era of a planned country with a total outlay of 2249 acre which had to twofold aim. That's important here. There is a 2249 means 2249 crore which had twofold aim. The revolution like a green revolution attained the record of production of the food for the 75.6 million ton. That's the revolution here. 75.6 million ton here production. The Kerala model was also very effective in terms of land reforms and public distribution system, poverty alleviations and health and literacy rate here. Jamindari system was abolished and consequently lands were to the disturbed among the landless farmer. That's important here. Jamindari system was abolished or consequently lands were distributed among the landless farmer here. And also white revolution and blue revolution arise the development of country. That's important. The white revolution and blue revolution arise the development of country. In 1990, we adopted the mixed economy due to this planning of development and increasing and allowed to the investment in a public sector also. That's important. 1990, we adopted the mixed economy due to the This planning of development increasing and allow to the investment in a public sector also. And research what technologies is in a field of agriculture has been to adopted. Therefore, India become a self-sufficient in food. The India become a self-sufficient in food. That's important here. In 1991, Indian government adopted by the new economical policy, globalization, privatization, and liberalization. That's important here. In 1991, Indian government adopted to the new economical policy here, globalization, privatization, and liberalization. It's helped a lot of development, and thus the planning leads to be Indian as a growth in the term of literacy, infrastructures, and moreover in a GDP. Next question, important arrive here. Describe the the composition and function of the Planning Commission of India. You know that is an important question. Describe the if there is a composition and function of the Planning Commission of India. That's an important question for the exam view here. A composition of Planning Commission. First of all here, composition of Planning Commission. First of all here, the Prime Minister of India is the chairman of commission. The Prime Minister of India, the chairman of commission. The commissions has a deputy chairman. The commission has a deputy chairman. The finance minister and planning minister are the ex-office member of the commission. That's important. The finance minister and planning minister are ex-office member of commissions. The commission has a 4 to 7 full-time export of member. You know that the commission has a 4 to 7 full-time export members here. Balance utilizations of the country as resources. That's important here. The most effective and balanced utilization of the countries as resources. To determine priorities and the defined stage in which their plan should be carried out. That's important. And to be indicate the factor that related economical development here. Next question arrive here. That's important here. What were the early initiatives taken by the Planning Commission for the build a new India? You know that is an important question here. The initiatives taken by the Planning Commission are there is a build of new India. You know that is an important question. After the independence, India was suffering from a poverty. Literacy rate was very low. You know that that's the main problem for the facing for the India here. Poverty literacy rate was very low. But this problem of facing for the India this time, and therefore government of India passed a revolution and set up of the Planning Commission in March 1950. That's important here. Therefore the government of India is pass a revolution and set up of the Planning Commission March 1950. That's important period time here that a revolution here the accepted here of government of India. The Planning Commission planned to the structure of development in terms of 5-year plan and mixed economic policy. That's important. The Indian government is accepted here 5-year plan and mixed economic policy here. The first 5-year plan imposes on the agriculture sector dams, irrigation facilities. That's important here. The first 5-year plan here imposes on agricultural sector dams, irrigation facilities here. It also increased the literacy rate. Its focus on saving and therefore the per capita income was increased. That's important. It was increasing our literacy rate. It's a focus on saving and therefore their per capita income was increased. The second five-year plan focused on the industry development and infrastructural development. You know that is important. First five-year plan is only here for agriculture, but second five-year plan there are focus on the industry development and infrastructure development here, so that agriculture sector also grow to be a meet the demand of agriculture product in industry. You know that there is the most important here. They are part of one coin of two faces here. Agriculture and industry. Industry and agriculture. The mixed economic policy India adopted the mixed economic policy. Mixed economic policy India adopted their mixed economic policy here. Therefore, the two sector, private and public, could do the better in development of India. You know that is important. Therefore, the two sector, private and public, could do better in the development of India. The state controlled there is heavy industries and provided to the industrial infrastructure and regulate the trade and some important interventions in the agriculture. And this all the build up a new India. That's important here. They provided to the industrial infrastructure, regulate trade, and some important interventions in the agriculture. This all build up a new India. That's important point. Next question arrive here. That's important. What were the major difference in the approach toward the development at the time of independence? That's important question here. The major difference in the approach toward the development at the time of independence. You know that at the time of independence, development was about the becoming more like the industrialized countries of best to be involved with the breakdown of the traditional social structure as well as the rise of capitalism and liberalism here. That's important here. In this time, best involved with the breakdown of the traditional social structure as well as a rise of capitalism and liberalism. That's important. Modernization refers to be growth, materials, progress, and scientific rationality here. Modernization refers to growth, material, process, and scientific rationality here. India had to be model of modern development at the time of the independence into the consideration to be adopted. The liberal capitalist model like to Europe and the USA, and the socialist model like the USSR. That's important point here. There are capitalist rules Europe and USSR as here model, and there are socialist model like the USSR. The India has two model on this period time, but not take a go ways through each and other. That's important here. There are USSR, a capitalist, and the socialist is the USSR, but it does not take a both. A debate has been occurring regarding to the adoption of model of the development as a communist, socialist, and Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru support their socialist model to the effect bordered conscious to be development during the national movement. You know that. That's important here. Debate has been occurring regarding to the adoption of model developments as communist, socialist, and Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru support their socialist. Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru is not support the communist here. Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru support here the socialist model to reflect about it consist to be a development during to national movement. Above mentioned intention clearly that a government made the priority to the poverty evasion along with the social and economical redistribution here. Redistribution, that's important. The next year, At the same time, this leader differ and debated here. You know that's important. At the same time, these leaders differ and debated here. Industrialization, first of all, here, industrialization should be of fair to the path. Industrialization should be the preferred path here. And the agriculture development should be take place. And rural poverty should be elevated. That's important. The agriculture development, industrialization, and rural poverty. That's important here. Next question arrive here. That's important. State the main agreement in the debate that ensued between the industrialization and agricultural development at the time of the second 5-year plan. That's an important question for the exam view here. The industrializations and agricultural development at the time of second 5-year plan. The debate here. You know that that's important. At the time of second 5-year plan, some controversial issue rose in a reference of reliance of agriculture over industry. That's important here, controversial here issue of second 5-year plan there. A second 5-year plan emphasis on industry in a place of agriculture or the rural India. That's important. First 5-year plan, there is a only fair here issue for the agriculture, but second 5-year plan emphasizes the industry in place of agriculture, but second year there is an industrialization. And J.S. Kumarappa and Gandhian economists propose an alternative blueprint to the emphasis of the rural industrialization. Second 5-year plan main base of the rural industrialization here. And there is a main thought here. J.C. Kumarappa and Gandhi economists propose alternative of blueprint for the rural industrializations here. Other debated that without any increasing of industrial sector, poverty could not be liberated here. You know that India plan did not we have a agrarian struggle to be a boost the production of food grain. It also proposed a program of community development spend large sums of irrigations project. And failure was not with that of policy but of its unknown implementation because of the politics of land owning classes here. That's an important point here. It is a proposed that a program of community development spent a large sum of regulations project and failure was not to be policy but it is a non-implementations because of the politics of land owned classes. And besides they have also agreed that every if the government had spent more money on agriculture and it would be not have solved the massive problem of our rural poverties. That's an important point here. This topic was till this. We will be do their next topic in the next part. If you like it, then please like, share, subscribe, and share the video as a much as a possible. Do not think subscribe and save in your mobile.